Alright, buenos dias, que paso amigos, John's Moto Garage. We finally made it back to the wheelie spot in daylight so I can actually get some clips. And we also have the Dyna in running commission, aside from the quarter fairing. I know some of you don't like it, but it is what it is right now. So, just to get you guys all up to speed, if you're tuning in for the first time, I'd recommend go back, check out my Dyna playlist. You can check out some of the other videos I did of the Dyna, but basically I bought this bike to learn wheelies. My background in wheelies is not very extensive. I bought a bike about 6 or 7 months ago. I got a Honda Grom, started practicing on that, moved up to DRZ, and then, what do you know, I jumped to Dyna. I know these bikes aren't built for it. I'm still doing the chase. I'm not at 12 o'clock. I'm not balance point yet, but that's where it is. I appreciate all the feedback, people who are giving me tips and constructive feedback and criticism, much appreciated. So here's what happened so far. First, the clutch went out. Then after that, my tire was like wicked bald. I got a new tire. My first session in with the new tire, I broke my chain. So finally I got a new chain put in. So that takes us to where we are today, the Shinko 777 tire. Everybody recommended this for the wheelie game. I know it's not the highest quality tire, but I had a Michelin, burnt through that thing wicked fast as well. So when it comes to doing wheelies, you're not going to get a lot of life out of the tire, so you're not buying it with that in mind. Anyway, I'm putting the Shinko to the test. Everybody told me, dude, you don't have to adjust pressure. You can wheelie anywhere. The texture of the ground doesn't matter. Just get the Shinko. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, and I'm going to see if I have any luck with the wheelies. Where I'm at now with the wheelies is I really am working on getting farther and farther back. One thing that's great about having people film you is you can kind of analyze how you're doing on the bike. And what I realized when I had Jackie come out and film it is I wasn't close to as far back as I thought I was, and that's a good thing because that's why it didn't feel like I was kind of getting that weightless balance point feel. And it just means I need to keep creeping my way back into it, but I'm not going to push it. I'd rather slowly work my way back than loop the bike because I'm not comfortable with where that point is. With my experience learning on the other bikes, the DRZ and the Grom, and even on some of the sport bikes, the FC09 and FC07, you're better kind of flirting with it slowly, working your way into it. I think that's a safer, more methodical, systematic way of going about it. Some people are just gnarly balls to the walls and it doesn't matter. First ride, they're doing it. So anyway, that's what the video is going to be about. Hopefully I have some success. I don't know. This is the beginning of the session, so we'll see. So, and I've learned with the Grom and with the DRZ, the trick is getting up to balance point, you know, right away. But when you're not comfortable on the bike, I think it's safer to work your way back there. That's part of the challenge as well, is it's hard for me to really determine, is it because I haven't been practicing for so long that I kind of lost that mojo for it? Is it because the new tire's not broken in properly? You know, there's so many different variables that you have to consider. I can't definitively say, yeah, it's the best tire, or no, it's not at this point, because there's a lot of moving pieces. And one more thing I might add, I worked last night. I worked night shifts, and whenever I go out post night shift, mentally and physically, I'm just a little bit drained, and so that's something you got to take into account as well. It's probably not smart for me to be out doing this, but I've been wanting to get out for quite some time. But you'll notice right now I'm really struggling. Oh, this is not good at all. I had one where I felt like it was like within grasp, and since I've really been struggling. Yeah, it's crazy. The Michelin, when it was bald, I was getting better traction on this surface here. Oh man, this is really disappointing. I mean, I can feel, man, like it feels wicked sticky. Maybe the surface isn't good for it. My problem is I don't want to rely on a surface. I want to be able to do a wheelie anywhere, you know? But I'm not getting anything with it. Yeah, it's like it progressively actually gets worse as the session goes on. And usually when you warm the tire up, it's, you know, starts to get a little bit better. What a drag. It's such a bummer. I was on the Michelin, I was finally getting to a point where I was consistently getting the front wheel in the air, because you have to be able to do that before you can start leaning back farther and finding balance point. I really don't know what to say, you guys. I don't know what to say. All right, you guys, so Bit of a disappointing session, to say the least. I'll be the first to admit. At this point, I can't say definitively one way or the other that the Shinko is or is not a good tire. I think there's a lot of different factors. One being I was off the bike for a while. Two being that, you know, I had to put a new chain on. I'm tired. I'm sleep deprived. The takeaway is, man, this stuff is tough. Real life example, you know, ups and downs, especially with trying to learn these dang wheelies, because I'm like taking a step back now to basically relearning from where I was at the beginning. Yeah, so I don't know what to say, you guys. There it is. Disappointment for sure, but part of the learning curve. That's just real life for you there. I was very excited to come out today and get some dope wheelies, get back into the wheelie game, because it's been a couple weeks, and unfortunately I'm taking a few steps back, and I can't really pinpoint what the issue is. There you have it, John's Moto Garage. As always, I appreciate the support, and we will hit you guys up on the next one, and hopefully someday we'll actually learn how to do wheelies on this thing. That'll be the day, right? I swear pigs will be flying before that happens. But all right, buenos dias, que paso, amigos? John's Moto Garage. Welcome back. We're taking the Dyna out, and these last few sessions have not been very good ones, so hopefully we have a little more luck today. But it's just the name of the game. It's part of that learning curve. Dyna's looking beautiful as ever. See if I have any better luck. I love actually having air in my rear tire. What a concept, what an idea. Just gonna have a good time with it, you know? As you can see, we're here at the wheelie spot, and it's a nice sunny Sunday afternoon, kind of hot outside, and I'm just gonna give these wheelies a shot. I haven't been having a ton of luck as of late, but it's all good. We're just trying to have fun. And so today I'm just going to practice some different techniques, try out a few different things, you know, change it up a little bit. I'm on the Shinko. My last session on the Shinko was not awesome, to say the least. Let's jump into it. Let's see if we have any luck figuring out these wheelies. I definitely feel like I've kind of taken a few steps back. So I'm just going to try out some different things, try out some different techniques. I've got the higher air pressure in the tires. But as you can see, all it's wanted to do is just burn rubber, and that's basically been the story of this whole wheelie thing, is how do you get that back to not just burn rubber? It's crazy. And based on what everybody told me, I was sure on the Shinko it wouldn't have any issues, but maybe the Shinko doesn't like this. I don't know what. It just doesn't hook up. Whoa, you guys see that? This is interesting. I'm doing something totally different, which is I'm actually going fairly slow. I'm not letting the RPMs build up close to as high as I usually do, and it's catching, but I'm not having enough to really bring it all the way up. That's kind of exciting, because I'm running full PSI. I don't have it down to 10 or 15. And it's hooking up. It's not, I'm used to having way more torque because my RPMs are usually way higher, but I think this might actually be a much better step in the right direction, and definitely easier on the bike. You know, I can tell I'm not, I don't know, I might have to try messing around with body position a little bit, but I like that it's hooking up with 35 PS. So I think right now I may have to focus a little bit more on refining my body position, as opposed to relying so heavily on the engine. There we go, we're getting there. I'm back to having to refine and figure out my technique, which it's frustrating, but it's like a puzzle, you know? And if you can actually look at it more as like, oh, I want to figure this out, as opposed to like, oh, this is pissing me off, then that's kind of a way to enjoy the challenge, if you will, and be able to say like, nice, dude, you know, I figured it out. But I haven't quite figured out that sweet spot, you know? But I can tell once, you know, once I can get consistent, then it'll be a matter of just working my way into balance point. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about figuring out how to get the front wheel up right now. This is another example of how a setback can actually lead to something better. There's still a learning curve to it. You know, I'm just figuring it out, so I'm not consistent yet. I'll probably lose it and then have to refigure it out and blah, blah, blah. But I think ultimately it'll be a positive. And the important thing to understand is everybody learns at their own pace. I bought this bike back in December, so I've had it, so almost 5 months, but you know, a good chunk of that time the bike's been parked and haven't. So right now I'm still kind of working my way into balance point. I don't think I'm quite there, and I'm still kind of choppy on the throttle. Eventually I'll get to where I prop it up into balance, get off the throttle, and you're in that sweet spot. I can do it on the DRZ. I know I can eventually pull it off on this. There we go. I started to feel that weightlessness, so I basically touched balance point for a second, man. So if you saw my last video, you know I was super bummed out, very disappointed. You know, things weren't going my way, and just basically came down to take a break and go practice again. Try something different. And it's not like I came out today and mastered it, but this is a breakthrough because I'm finally running full PSI, and I got a new chain, a new tire. I've gone through some different challenges, and I learned a brand new technique, and it's working. So now it's just getting consistent with this technique and dialing it in. But yeah, it's crazy. Everything I thought I had known, as far as like let the RPMs build up super high and, you know, the way I was doing it, is actually totally different the way I'm doing it now. Totally different technique. Just goes to show it's not going to be the same for everybody. And it's crazy because when you hit that sweet spot, it's like you just have a wheelie button. It's super easy, minimal effort. But if you're not doing it with that, if you're not doing it just right, you're working against the bike as opposed to with it. I gotta see if I can get like 1 or 2 more before I dip out. If you could just see my face, I'm like, I like trying to get that front wheel up. Here. It goes from like complete strain to, oh crap, I'm gonna kill myself. To complete disdain and disappointment. The faces of the wheelie, you guys. That's real life. All right, helmet's down, it looks better. That was it. I finally got that weightless, just for a split second, that sense of like, whoo. Oh yeah. I felt it on that one for sure. Definitely felt it on that one. All right, you guys, let me pause for a second, go over some concluding thoughts, because this is like my second impressions on the Shinko, and I knew the first round through, it wasn't the tire, it was more the rider. All right, so I'm gonna call it quits on this session. It's been a good session for sure. So a few things I've learned. Today I had to change it up completely. My last sesh was a big letdown, a big disappointment. But I knew, I said, look, something's not right with my technique. People make it work with the tire, and people make it work with the bike. In fact, people do it with a stock bike. So you got to remind yourself, 9 times out of 10, if something's not working, it's not the setup. It's not something you can place blame on other than yourself for simply not knowing how to do it and needing to try something different. So what I did today is I came out with the mindset of, hey, I'm just gonna try something new. I'm gonna change up my technique because what I'm doing clearly isn't working. The big positives though today, I figured out how to get up in near balance point on a tire with 35 plus PSI. That's huge. Before I had it at 10 to 15. I'm also doing it in such a way that it's a lot easier on the bike. Not that wheelies are good for these bikes regardless, but you guys get the point. So those are the big takeaways. My final 2 cents on the Shinko. The verdict on the Shinko, well, so far I'm digging it. No complaints actually, so that's a plus. All right, guys, I think that's going to be a session. John's Moto Garage, as always, I appreciate the support. Gracias to you guys for tuning in and tagging along with this nonsense. And of course, if you dig it, like and subscribe. More of this along with the other stuff to come, and we'll hit you guys up on the next one. Nos vemos. Hasta luego.